Good morning. Vimala Thakar's book, Life is to be Related. And I'm continuing the second talk from Sydney, 1982. Here we go. If we accept the authority of the mind and the brain, if we accept the authority of the measurements created by the human race and say that this is the totality of life, that there is no life beyond what the human race has written about or experienced, and that there is no energy independent of or separate from the conditioned mind, the I consciousness, then life is not worth living. I don't believe that man is born to live as a prisoner of this conceptual world. Out of the perception, we created concepts and a conceptual world, a very rich world of symbology and symbols. There may be a transconceptual dimension to our consciousness. There may be many more energies contained in us than we have discovered up to now. A religious person uses what is available, what has been made available by the forefathers, by the total human past, but never accepts the authority as the last word about life. You know, the last word about life has never been said and shall never be said. Life is infinite. Life is an eternity, immeasurable and unnameable. Our measurements, names, terms, and ideologies are our cultural toys. They're very useful to us. They have their grandeur, their magnificence, and yet they are not the totality. Are we aware that life is really a mystery? It's a mysterious wholeness where all contradictions and mutually incompatible things complement and supplement one another and constitute that non-fragmentable, indivisible totality. We are so engrossed with the social, economic, political structures. We are so busy with them and with the consumer goods and the pleasures that they give us that we have no time to go into all this and to question the validity of getting enclosed and becoming a prisoner in a man-made world. We never look towards the skies, the starlit skies of a dark night, not to get the pleasure out of them, but just to commune, because like us, they are fellow beings, not existing, but living in and with us. To look at a tree, not to analyze it botanically, give it a name, evaluate it, and find out how useful it is to us, but just to look at the beauty, the grandeur. That communion has a healing power. We never look at the space, the emptiness around us. We open our eyes and the eyes follow and reach an object, then only the eyes stop. But the emptiness between the objects and ourselves is never really observed, never watched. This emptiness, even the physical emptiness, the space around us, is a marvelous thing. It contains many energies. The sound energies are contained in the emptiness of space. And maybe the emptiness contains many more energies than the ones we have discovered up to now. We have discovered the energies of impulses incorporated in the body, the energy of the appetite, of thirst, of the sexual urge. We have sophisticated those impulses contained in us. We have discovered the energy of thoughts and emotions and their relations to the chemistry of the body. We have conditioned the movement of thought. We have even created patterns for them, but we have never explored the dimension of silence, out of which sound is born. We have never related ourselves to the dimension of space around and within us, the emptiness within us, which is as much a substance of life as the objects are that are around us. Meditation is an exploration of that inner space, untouched by verbalization. If we let the mind go into non-action in its totality, if we allow the mind to go into abeyance without forcing it into abeyance, then maybe we have an intimate encounter with what is called the dimension of silence, where unconditioned energies can get activized, take over the charge of our lives, and enable us to behave in quite a different way than in which we are living today. Those who turn to religious inquiry or meditation for just self-centered ambition, and those who are not aware of the gravity of the situation, the problems with which the human race is confronted, they perhaps miss the beauty of religious life. Religious life is not one of isolation. I feel it is necessary to mention this because religious or spiritual inquiry has been used as an escape to run away from the responsibility of meeting the challenges that our civilization has created for us. We cannot turn the clock backwards. We have to meet the challenges, understand them, live in the midst of society and explore new avenues, new dimensions of life, tap new energies. And with a great sense of responsibility and with all humility, I say to you that in the dimension of silence, there is an energy of intelligence which has a velocity incomparable with the velocity or momentum of thought. The movement of thought and the velocity of thought have been measured. The colors of thought have been identified. Thoughts having vibrational existence in us have already been measured long ago in the late 30s. That energy, though it has helped to a very great extent, has not helped us to live with one another without fear, without exploiting one another, without violence and aggression. We have to confess to ourselves that after inhabiting the earth for so many centuries, we have not yet learned the simple thing to live with one another without fear, with care, concern, compassion. Men shall have to learn this, and the earlier we learn, the better for us. There may be resolutions in the United Nations not to use nuclear weapons, to arrest the spread of conventional armaments. But where are the sanctions to those resolutions? The sanctions must be in the individual psyche, in the human mind, your mind and my mind. Some other energies have to be explored and utilized for changing the basis of human relationships. Therefore, this exploration of the dimension of silence is urgently necessary if and when this conditioned mind, this I, the me, the ego, is allowed to go into non-action. We have to learn to educate ourselves, to educate our minds. If it is allowed and the I consciousness does not move anymore, voluntarily goes into non-action, if the movement of conceptual world comes to an end, then we are transported into a transconceptual reality where there are no measurements, no symbols, no concepts at all. I am sharing with you the science of life, which is spirituality. It is not a talk to entertain. The energy of intelligence has nothing to do with our brain, our body, has nothing to do with inheritance, conditionings, knowledge. It's an energy born out of silence. Silence and emptiness is the content of that energy. The mind that we use today is full of the conditionings of the past. The mind and the conditionings are the same, but those conditionings do not move. In the cessation of their movement, this energy of intelligence gets released, and when it moves, the movement is called awareness. The intellect moves with the help of the word. It identifies an object, brings back a sensation. The brain interprets it, and we say, I have an idea. The movement of the intellect brings back knowledge, or it can bring back an experience, which again becomes the possession of the I consciousness. But there is no intervention of the mind, or verbalization. When the energy of intelligence sees through the eyes, the skin, the ears, there is an awareness of the totality, of the particular in relation to the total. That very perception is born of non-duality. There is no tension of the me and the not me, or the wanting something from the not me. These perceptions, born of non-duality, are not something from mythology, perception, awareness, and then understanding, are physical facts. So without the obstruction of symbols and concepts, there is a direct and intimate contact with reality, which is free of all the structures which the human race has created and grafted upon it. This communion with the essence of reality, without any superstructures which man has created, is a marvelous thing. Then we see the beginning of a new birth in dying and death. Then we see that prior to birth, there was a death. And after the event of death and dying, life does not end. So there is a way of getting reborn within ourselves. I do not say that there is nothing more than the energy of intelligence, but surely beyond the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious mind, beyond all the cerebral movements and its creation of space and time, there is a dimension of life where time moves not, and the idea of space touches not, and where the perceptions are born of the awareness of the totality. Therefore, our response to the particular is with the awareness of the whole. The ego-centered reactions have no scope to color our responses. The likes, dislikes, preferences, prejudices do not intervene or interfere with the responses at all. If somebody hurts or insults us, that is recognized as a hurt or an insult. Yet it does not become a grudge or an issue. It does not result in a pain that is carried and nursed. Then there is a different way of living, of behaving. Then the human being shall realize that the non-human species are as important, if not more, for the cosmos as the human species are. The forests and the oceans have their own life, and they have much to give and to teach the human race. The root of our misery is in the intellectual arrogance and also ignorance. It's also in the forgetfulness that life is infinite and eternal. It can never be imprisoned in our measurements and symbols. We can use the symbols very gladly and skillfully, but when we mistake them for the totality, then we sow the seeds of suffering. So religion wakes us up from this slumber of ignorance, from this dream of arrogance, wakes us up to the reality, and human beings realize their own place in the universe as one of the many. The crisis, the curse of fragmentation is upon the human psyche. We have to wash out those toxins and to be aware of the wholeness of life, which will ever defy verbalization. It is and will be possible to commune with it non-verbally, to be with it, to live with it, but not to own it, to possess it, to conquer it. Then science and technology will be used in quite a different way. Then they will be used to share the resources of the planet with all those who are hungry and starving, irrespective of to which country and to which race they belong. Then human beings will feel fulfilled in sharing and not conquering, owning, defeating, and fighting. The barbarian concealed behind our skin will no more be there. The world today is really starving for love, for friendship. We have attained many things, and really, they are remarkable, and we have all the respect for the scientists and philosophers. But yet we have not learned to live in love, in friendship, and cooperation. Through meditation, a new quality of consciousness gets manifested in the human beings. Such human beings will be capable to create a new society and alternative cultures. The old is collapsing anyway. All the efforts to retain the old structures are not going to succeed. The structures have outlived their day. Science and technology are changing the context so fast. The religious, the political, the economical structures are tumbling down. Before a vacuum is created, let us face the challenge of an inner mutation, of an inner transformation, and not get busy with petty little self-centered activities of awakening Kundalini and having some petty little experiences. The issue is a radical revolution, which will revolutionize our relationship with life, with our lives, and bring about a fundamental change in the basis of our relationships with others. That is the issue. A challenge facing the whole global human race is waiting for us to be met and to get resolved. The motivations for bringing about social economical, or political change have themselves to be changed, to bring about a change without hatred, aggression, violence. How do we do that? This exploration of the silence within, of meditation, of the dimension of meditation, is the historical necessity of the day. Let us hope that we will not be engrossed with our personal sufferings, but that we will have the sensitivity to look upon the sorrow and the misery in which the human race is living. I hope we know the difference between suffering and sorrow. When the ego relates to the challenge and difficulty and thinks of his own pain and pleasure, then there is individual suffering. But sorrow is the awareness of the whole travail of human life. That's the end of this talk. Then she sings a mantra. It says, the mantra is here translated: O my mind, wake up to the presence of the divine. Those who sleep, divinity stand by and watches over them. Those who wake up, look at the divine. The divine begins to respond. And those who get up and walk with the awareness of the presence of the divine enriches their own and everyone's lives. So have a very good day. Bye for now.